I haven't covered a shooter all year. Well, I'm here to talk about Gravelord, finally coming out of early access in 1.0. I happily covered it last year because I believed in its potential. I gave some feedback, and here we are, ready to celebrate completion. Fatbot Studios itself is sponsoring this video, so a big thank you to them, and if you'd give me a little of your time, I'd like to tell you about what's so cool about this game, and I'll make sure to include any issues I came across to keep things transparent. If you're interested in checking out Gravelord on Steam, make sure you click the link in the video description. That helps out my stats for sponsors. Thanks. Gravelord is a fast-paced shooter that mixes classic Quake-style map design with modern movement shooter arena fights. It's not just arena after arena. Most of the time you're moving through intricately and beautifully designed maps made by veteran Quake modders displaying a high degree of talent and experience. Navigation is what you expect. Finding keys, hitting switches, and exploring stays fun with plenty of enemies in your way and even a couple light moments of platforming. There are a decent number of secret areas to find, mostly with resources, and since the enemies are pretty deadly, you'll be grateful to find them. Periodically, you'll be dealing with hazards, even in big combat spaces. Levels have beautiful, vibrant colors, even the moodier ones, with some impressive use of lights that give many spaces a mesmerizing glow. And since my video last year, they've made the enemies stand out a little more, but I actually recommend going into the game options and cranking up the enemy brightness. Not only does this make it easier to see them during the fast-paced combat, you get to appreciate more of their artistic detail, and the brightness actually affects the gore. With a high brightness setting, you really get to see all the blood and guts sprayed across the rooms. I really recommend it. Finally getting to play episodes 2 and 3 was a real treat because the step up in level design can be felt. Not that episode 1 wasn't good, it was, but some of these new levels are quite impressive, each one feeling distinct from another even when they're themed in similar ways. In the first episode I got a bit tired of the blue and orange aesthetic, so it's nice to see this start to change once you hit episode 2. My favorite improvement to level design is that the Spectral shovel is now integrated into combat spaces. This thing just felt like a tool that lets you fly across levels for traversal purposes, but now there are many situations where strategically placed blue walls set up telefrags, and believe me, it is satisfying when you spot one and use it. Not just in arena fights either, most of them are in small combat areas where a cleverly placed wall will let you eliminate or at least highly damage a problematic enemy placed in an awkward spot, if you happen to see it. Memorizing these will be great for replays, and some fights actually use this as a central mechanic. New enemy types have been introduced, and while most of them don't shake things up significantly, they are welcome additions. We've got floating sorcerers that summon bats, flamethrower dudes, rolling demon balls, floating energy orbs, and this big pain in the ass that pulls you to him with a gravity gun. All in all, it's a decent-sized roster, and they all explode into a shower of blood. The bigger difference can be felt in the new weapon types. You yourself get a flamethrower with a powerful alt fire that sets down a fire trap, in addition to an energy rifle that shares ammo with the amazing lightning gun, and it became a more and more important part of my arsenal as I faced more dangerous long-distance threats. And there's a very powerful freeze staff that applies frost, which slows enemies down, and the alt fire attack makes frozen enemies explode. A devastating weapon that could probably use some balancing. I think it's coming soon. Weapon variety is encouraged through decently spread out resources, more so in the new episodes, as well as specialized utility and significant pressure from enemies when playing on the hard difficulty. Now, I previously criticized this game's hard mode last time because of certain parts that felt really cheap. Monsters popping out behind you to kill you in seconds, suddenly appearing right next to you on a platform. It felt like you were just doomed to die if you didn't know what to expect. That is still the case in a few areas. It didn't upset me as much this time around, probably because I already knew that's how the game is, and these new episodes don't have that many instances of it. If you're quick and smart, you can deal with most of what the game throws at you the first time around. But you will die a bit, cause some of these guys are brutal. You've got this shield demon that shoots homing projectiles at you, he's gonna take you down. The psychic Caco demon is gonna melt your health from afar and make you yell fuck a few times. The super rats are gonna piss you off. But these enemies aren't overused, and once you figure out how to use your arsenal more effectively, you'll make easy work of them. Weapon alt-fires make a huge difference. Triple straight rockets are a lifesaver, while the alt-fire of the chain gun was something I mainly used for the damage boost. The ricochet feature actually came in handy a few times. I enjoyed using it much more this time over last year. The lightning gun is still amazing, and the alt-fire, sweet baby Joseph Smith, what a satisfying fuck you to everyone. Gravelord still uses the unique mechanic of universal alt-fire cooldowns. If you alt-fire one gun, the cooldown applies to all. So if you alt-fire the super shotgun, which gives it penetrating shots, you gotta wait a few seconds for any other gun's alt-fire. Different guns have different cooldowns. You've got 4 whole seconds after shooting the triple rockets, for example. Part of Gravelord's special kind of flow is deciding which alt-fire you're going to use, not just because of its utility, but because of the cooldown restriction on others. You could change it though with an upgrade that cuts it in half. Gravelord has a card system that feels more like it belongs in a roguelike than a traditional campaign structure. This was something I recommended they reconsider during development, and, well, it's still the same system. But I think there are fewer instances of picking up cards this time around, so you aren't constantly being asked what card to pick. I may be totally imagining this, but it felt better this time. Maybe I was just more accepting of the way it works. Basically, just pick what sounds good and stick with it if you want. There wasn't much reason to experiment beyond what already works for me, but it is what it is. I go with the lower tier cards that make enemies drop health and armor, because, I need everything to be Doom or I don't like it. And I get the high tier card that lets me get one shot of double damage after jibbing an enemy, and this has to be the most fun way to play the game. When you have this Mayhem upgrade, you're always looking for ways to blow up enemies and seeking out the flying skulls for an easy jib, and then carry that double damage buff to the next guy in a way that blows him up too. That way you can chain double damage attacks across a bunch of enemies. Here's a few clips of me setting up the Mayhem buff. This upgrade makes the game so damn fun, and I'm kinda amazed that the whole game isn't built around this mechanic. Doesn't this seem like a foundational idea a game would be balanced and paced around? When all this comes together, Gravelord is pretty fun, especially in the later levels. More deadly combinations of enemies and more interesting arrangements and spaces. Combined with your heightened understanding of your arsenal and enemy prioritization, it all leads to some crazy explosive fun that for me never got old. So, the positives: level design, art style, gore, telefragging, weapon variety, player accountability and the fun zone, and campaign length. It's not so long that it overstays its welcome like Wrath. It's just right, with each episode ending in a boss fight where your arsenal is stripped from you and you gotta pick new cards as well as recollect all your guns. These are essentially endurance runs that are alright, a little frustrating and bullshit sometimes, but I did feel pretty good about finally beating them. The final fight of the game, in particular, was fun to figure out. Every death was a lesson in what I was not paying enough attention to. Now, what must I warn you about if you're going to play Gravelord? This is a sponsored video, but it's not a fluff piece. Here's what you gotta look out for. Getting hit by some enemies like bats and clawing monsters can cause your head to jerk down towards the ground, and it's needlessly disorienting. There's a level in episode 2 that's made up entirely of platforms, and if you fall off, you die. This was incredibly annoying, but the director has told me they are working on a respawn system so that you're placed back on the platform taking a chunk of damage instead, because it's just way too easy to fall off for various reasons I won't get into. It's a super cool level though, so I'm happy it's getting fixed. You will get ambushed in some moments and feel the game's unfair, but like I said, it doesn't happen too often and you just gotta mentally adjust to it. I generally just laugh it off and try again. You're also gonna fall into lava here and there, it's just gonna happen. If you're struggling, you could always abuse the save system. Yes, Gravelord, like the classic Quake, is save scummable with a quick save system. So you're gonna have to make a choice as to how you play. Are you gonna save every 10 seconds and cheese the game? Or will you play around the checkpoint system, which is a lot more challenging and fun? I'm not making excuses for it. It is a flaw of any game with this kind of save system, but much like the gold orbs in Devil May Cry, you can choose to ignore the option. And I do recommend playing as if quick saves aren't a thing. Maybe just save when you feel really scared about something coming up. While I do like the enemy designs, behaviorally and artistically, they struggle with their pathfinding. If someone's chasing you, all you gotta do is run around a corner, and I think they start trying to walk through the wall to get to you. It's an ugly moment when it happens, breaking the immersion, because now you don't see enemies, you see bad AI programming. But thankfully, this was kept to a minimum. Most spaces don't have this occurring at all. My two biggest criticisms, however, in this game that is quite fun and I'm obviously recommending, are the lack of cinematics and music. Yeah, Mayo's here complaining there aren't enough cinematics to watch. What? Well, I wouldn't have an issue with a game that just has no cinematics, that's fine. But Gravelord opens with a great cinematic story setup showing off a wonderful art style, and I was expecting to at least get one more at the beginning of each following episode and one at the end, right? Wouldn't you? Well, that just doesn't happen till some still images and text at the end of the game, and that's a real letdown. I gotta be honest about it. I'm sure this is connected to struggles with the game's budget and some bouncing around between publishers drama that Fatbot Studios has unfortunately experienced. So I'm trying to be understanding here. I think it was out of their control. But it's not as big of an issue as the music thing. There's no music, guys. There's a combat track that plays sometimes, but most of the game is just a droning sound. Again, an issue of budget and time exacerbated by publisher issues, but still, doesn't change the facts. And you might say, hey, this game is inspired by QUAKE, and QUAKE has a minimal droning soundtrack, and yeah, that's true. I'm not much of a fan of the QUAKE soundtrack either, outside of the main theme. I want something to bob my head to, or make me feel tense. You're gonna have to put on your own music for this one. I personally recommend Astro Creep 2000 by White Zombie and Guts from Olivia Rodrigo. Okay, so this is me telling you guys that Gravelord is a genuinely good time. Sponsored or not, I would put this somewhere in my best of the year video. Likely not top 5, but certainly worth a mention. It's the most fun I've had with a shooter all year, and I think you're gonna like it too. Thanks everyone. I've been buried deep in a large multi-hour project that's taking all my time, so have patience with me and I'll have something special soon.